Coach, close first half in terms of the score, got into the second half, and it seemed like energy went out, and you look up and down by 10 or 15. Can you take me through what happened in that second half?
Well, we look at trying to find the positive, which was one of our major goals was to be really good at taking care of the basketball. 11 assists, only 6 turnovers. If you only have 6 turnovers, you give yourself a chance to win any game. So we look at that, we go like, okay, we didn't beat ourselves to start with as far as the offensive end went. And we're down by 3 at half. And in the first half, we had built up, it was the largest lead we had during the first half. We had built up 6-7 point lead. And during that period, we had great ball control. Our offense was going side to side, inside out. There was a variety of different actions that were occurring. We made a couple shots. We built that lead. At that point, I thought we got excited and happy, and we started taking a lot of threes and a lot of quick threes and a lot of poor selection threes, and they led to some run-outs for them, some easy baskets, and all of a sudden they tied it up, and then they started beating us to death on the boards. And what happens is the spirit got beaten when they got a second, third offensive board scored back there. You could feel it on the bench, you could feel it in the crowd, you could feel the coaches could feel it like, oh man, the big kid McCray is just, he's pounding the boards. Other guys would come in with tip in, they get the long rebound. So we went into halftime at a 3-point deficit, but it felt like, here we go again. We had a lead, we had tempo control, and we lost it. A lot of confidence was lost, I felt. Coming out in the second half, seemed like it was a little bit of battle, but the physical overwhelmingness, I felt like it was the first time this year that this team's leg, we looked like we were in quicksand, moving towards the loose balls. I think that their physical play at the 5, and when you can't move the guy and he keeps it, and they keep it alive. We hate to use any excuses, but I actually told the assistant coach, I said, well, we're gonna find out something today. We haven't found out all year. And he said, what's so different about today? I said, see if our guys can go to class all day, which is Wednesday. We have our guys. We ask our guys to load up classes on Mondays and Wednesdays because we travel so much, typically on a Thursday game. This was a Wednesday game, and so they had classes. Most guys had 3 to 4 classes today, which what it does, it puts them in school academic mode. We didn't have a walkthrough. We didn't have a stretch through. We didn't have a video session during the day. Usually when we're on the road or at home or on a Saturday, we have a full stretch and a walk, and you get your legs, and then you get off your feet for 2 or 3 hours. They'll take naps and get off there. But guess what? UC Riverside doesn't care. I mean, they know. We had good legs the other day up at UC Davis. We drove up the night before. We got stretched. We had bounce to us. Tonight was the first time I thought we just hit that level. And also then I got to look at what is going on in our practice. What we did was we tried to shorten practice up, and we shorted the number of rotations we go up and down the court. So we just started doing some up and backs, 10 minutes of that, where you get your execution, but you don't get truly fatigued. And I thought tonight it hurt us. It looked like after we went up and back, 3 to 4 times, we didn't really have the legs to respond. Now you can see how quickly I went to the bench tonight. I was looking for some energy, and we got Jared Rice in, and we got Joe, who had been not playing much at all. We got him in the middle of the zone. I thought he made some good passes. I thought, we took care of the ball, and I thought Job did a really good job off the bench for us. But you look at the rebound totals from the starters, and Donovan Fields leads us in rebounding. When your 5'10" point guards leading rebounder, and their 5 men end up with 22 points and 17 rebounds, we're getting beat up there. And I just think we have to have greater effort, greater help, greater energy, greater physicality, and it's going to be a competitive practice. We're going to shorten practice up. There's got to be some more intensity. There's got to be some more blood that gets lost over those situations, because it felt like the first time in a couple games where Santa Barbara fell that way a little bit a couple times, and they pounded us on the free throw rebounding. Tonight it just felt like, the disparaging number of the rebound, doesn't matter how good we took care of the ball. We shot too many threes because we didn't control it. And so the best way to become a better rebound team is to have a better offensive possession so that your legs are rested and you got things under control. So definitely 2 or 3 major things that we got to change instead of looking at lineup changes to get that energy as well.
You mentioned the kind of here we go again. Their first 3 games in conference, all losses, but in all those games there was kind of a pushback. Right. Like a resistance, maybe is what you guys have been calling it, kind of somewhere in the middle of the game where you've gotten back in the game, you've taken a second half lead. In that second half today, that 15 minutes left, and it was like it was all of a sudden a 7 or 9 or 11 point game. Seemed like that pushback wasn't really there. How do you kind of manage that?
Well, we got to find that out. I mean, it's one thing I've learned is you think differently in 24 hours. I mean, you have a knee-jerk response in 2 minutes after a game, and then you have a thoughtful response in 2 to 3 hours. Coaches, we have a meeting and we throw some ideas. Then you have a real intellectual response when you get a chance to watch the whole videotape. I don't watch the tape at night. I won't sleep if I do that, so I try to go ahead and watch it first thing in the morning, and 5:30 or 6 I'll wake up in a sweat, start watching and take notes, take edits, and then we have individual meetings tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And you'll start to see what the theme was. How many of those things were technical or effort related or just bad bounces or frustration. You know, when Marcellus misses a shot, the team loses defensive energy. You know, he's struggled from the three-point line, so he's feeling frustrated. He doesn't jump as high to get that rebound, and so we have to look at a variety of factors. But I think often making and missing shots gives guys the bounce and enthusiasm for the defense. And when we couldn't make a couple shots there, and we took some bad shots there, and relied upon that, we kept on trying to continue to emphasize the point that we had them at 17 fouls, and we never got to the free throw line. We wanted to get to the free throw line, set a press up, change the tempo of the game. We really just couldn't get the legs and the lungs and the body there. So I got to look at, my biggest thing is as a coach is looking at the practice dynamics that lead to that, as well as the rest dynamics. You know, there's a huge balance between overtraining. I mean, I think that thoroughbred horse trainers do a better job than coaching and sports do sometimes. They are so conscientious. And one of the things that the signs is we've lost Junior Ballard for maybe the season. He has a stress fracture in his shin, and it could be 2 weeks or 2 months or for the year. Well, that means he's been training his rear off, and he's been going hard. So, you know, we have to really balance how much do we have to our guys on their feet, how much they just need a full day of rest, and get in the training room and get some ice. And so that's going to be a really hard decision in the next 2 days to maximize our effectiveness for Fullerton on Saturday.
Over the past few years, one of the things that, you know, can be kind of seen or becomes apparent is guys being able to manage frustration. Do you talk to guys about that? Is that something you talk to them explicitly and specifically about? And where do you feel like your team is with that right now?
Well, we talked so much about it going up to Davis. We talked about all the guys who wear different gear. And that, when I mean different gear, I said, hey, you know, some of the guys, Tuukka wore something from Finland. What was your favorite basketball team? What was your favorite team that you were on? What was your favorite moment? What's your favorite band? Thinking about, hey, your thoughts have got to be positive about what's happening and what's going to happen. So when you miss 2-3 shots, your thoughts got to be, oh, this was great. I'm going to make the next one. And you have to have an eternal optimism, or it's not very fun to live. You know, if you think everything's going to happen and, oh, this is going to happen again, and it's a broken record, how can you pull yourself out of any situation? Your personal life, your academic life, hey, I failed the class. Well, okay, well then what do we do next? And that's a tremendously challenging part that goes on in any team, but I think even more so today, and over the years, that when you don't have success and you want it, you know, the frustration steps in, and I think that there has to be a balance between what frustration is, what fight is, and what optimism is. I mean, I'm a fiery Italian, gets pissed off and gets my emotions out. In 2-3 hours, I'll be a little more pretty calm. Tomorrow morning, I'll be highly cerebral and energized to get to work. And you got to be able to do that every day. You got to be able to flush that. You got to be able to say, hey, that's over. I'm mad. What I learned from it. How smart can I be? Now, what are the strategic things? So we try to train them the same way of like, hey, you should be upset all night. There's not a great player that is not upset all night after poor performance. If you can forget about it in 15 minutes and laugh in an hour, you're not that competitive. Just not that competitive. So that's okay to be frustrated. I'd be really frustrated if I didn't have some frustrated players. But then you gotta turn the switch, believe that you can do anything, believe in your teammates, believe in your coaches, believe in your school, and say, okay, here we go. I mean, 2-3 years ago, we were 0-5. Start the year off with. I said, so you done believing? Irvine was 4-0 in first place in conference. We went to Irvine and beat them on their home court for their first loss. They said, did you believe you can do it? I said, I completely believed I can do it. Should I think we could go to UCLA and beat them? Oh yeah, we did that. I believe that we could finish 7th in conference and run the table and go to the NCAA tournament. Oh, we did that. I mean, I'm a believer of great optimistic things, but I believe you got to work your rear off to get it. You don't get it by believing it. You got to then work and make changes and make some adjustments to do that. So that's my job. I'm much more a leader of emotions than just X and O's. I mean, the leader of emotions is as important as anything in society today at any company level, organization, leadership of emotions and belief. And I'd like to sometimes go back to Washington, D.C. and fix the government right now. And it's just like, really? Are we going to continue with this? I mean, the emotional split of two different political parties has to be, you're like, really? You know, this just can't, you know, there has to be a maturity and a coming together that coaches we do every day. It's like, hey, next day, next play, let's find a way to solve this problem.
Yeah, kind of going off what we said, kind of like believing in the team. After kind of like a tough loss like this, what do you do kind of as a coach to kind of give them that confidence back a little bit?
Well, I didn't give it to him in the locker room, I'll tell you that. That was more the unacceptability of our grittiness on the boards. That's just unacceptable. We have to have much more blood flying off that one. They'll go to sleep. They'll have breakfast, they'll go to a class, they'll have a meeting, and then you start the rebuilding process. Part of the rebuilding process is intellectual growth. When you show an edit on the video screen, this generation has grown up with that phone and the video screen. When you give indisputable evidence of what we did incorrectly, this block off, or the weak side rebounding, or coming over to the weak side too soon, or whatever it might be to take you out of position. When you give people facts, they have a tendency to believe it. When they can see the facts, it's like, wow, that's undisputable. Undisputable evidence is growth in your emotions. Like, oh, that I did do that. Yes, you did do that. Well, now let's learn from it and move on. But you have to give somebody a reason for improvement. You just don't. I mean, it's just not all, oh, the world's great. Well, the world's going to be great because we made some changes to the world. We're not going to make the same mistakes over and over, and adjustments and preparation, and whether some of the guys took a nap or didn't take a nap or had the right diet or whatever. So, well, we have to learn from all that. So that's the hardest part and the most enjoyable part. The most rewarding part of coaching is not running a play. It's leading players to believe that they can run the play to make a change. And that's the most enjoyable and also the most painful, you know, no doubt.
You guys got Fullerton coming in. What would, for you guys coming in against another pretty athletic team, what will come down to more against that kind of team on the boards? Will be more kind of more focus on the effort or more on the technique of you guys when you guys are crashing those boards?
Oh, it's definitely a 50-50. I mean, some of the strategic things that we have to do, scouting report-wise, we broke down at least 6 or 7 times. We just did the wrong thing. That player can shoot, and we stopped short of him. It's like, why'd you stop? We already know that the whole scouting report. There's 3 guys that we were running at, and we're going to make them drive and get the next rotation. And so that's half of it. They have two players that have a good chance of being in NBA training camps next year. Their backcourt is as good as any backcourt in the West on the West Coast. They're not just a good backcourt for the Big West. They're a good backcourt for the Big West. I mean, there's a reason they went to the NCAA tournament last year. They bring back the top 3 leading scorers on that team. They went to the NCAA tournament. The number one thing I'm looking for is if a team has more size, more strength, more quickness, more skill, it doesn't mean they have to have more toughness and more heart. But that's just the one thing you can just say, we're going to be more rested and more prepared and have more quickness and heart and togetherness off that stuff. So that's what I want the most of this team, is just to fight back with that. Like we've had, how many games we've had totally now? 16 games. And this is the first game, and I thought we had a period where we just looked like the legs, the lungs, and the head were hit the wall. And the first time I really felt like it. We've been down by 20 to Washington State, and we were down 25 to Washington State. We came back and cut down to single digits, 9 points. It was mentioned earlier, we've had every game that we've come fighting back, and this time the fight met the lungs and the legs. It didn't look, I think in the head they kind of wanted to fight back. But the lungs and legs look like, no, I don't have it anymore. And you know, who knows where that's from, but we'll figure it out.
All right.